Impending economic carnage. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because we're going to look at another news article, this time from news.com.au, about the economy on the brink, or the economy faltering based on data. Good old econo-fear, really. So, the latest RBA statement shows the economy faltering even further. Now, we have to understand, the RBA has increased the cash rate. We're at 4.1%. That's very high compared to how it was down at 0.1%. I would honestly be shocked if we ever see rates that low in our entire lives again. I think that was a one-in-a-lifetime event. We'll have to see. Hopefully I'm right. But by increasing the rates, there's going to be some economic impacts. That's the whole point of it. So let's see if they're playing it up here. A shock, really? New report from the Reserve Bank has revealed the strain Australian households face while the economy weakens. Now, it depends on what sector of the economy that you're in, if it's weakening. This is the thing. We've got dual speed economies. I remember years ago, when we first just started doing our architectural practice, we kind of stumbled into a lot of the mining work, probably because no one wanted to do it when it was just busy and flat out. And that's when it just started tanking. There were firms that laid off all their architectural staff here in Brisbane. I think 40 people at one firm. Mirvac fired everyone, shut down the architecture division, and there were firms that were really quiet. And we were busy. We were flat out. We were growing at that point because of the sector that we were working in. It was all complete luck, just the people that we happened to know and what led to what. But so it shows you've got to take this all with a grain of salt, really. I think individually you need to position yourself to be at least protected from some of the broader economic downturns. Well, how would you do that? I'd say get skills that are recession-proof, look at sectors that will attract more funding when other sectors are down, that type of thing. But the problem is, who's going to cop it? It's going to be the people working in retail who may not have the skills to branch out into other sectors. More pain could be on the way as soaring rents and high power bills crunch household budgets despite the Reserve Bank's warning that their fight against inflation may still have some way to run. The quarterly statement of monetary policy released on Friday has seen the Reserve Bank slash its short-term forecasts, with economic growth expected to falter further. Aside from the economic shock experienced during COVID-19, Australia's economy is expected to grow at its lowest rate since 1992. In May, the central bank expected the economy to expand by 1.2% for 2023, before moderately expanding to 1.4% in the 23 to 24 financial year. Now, what's that on a per capita basis? Because remember, the economy is expanding, but we also have another, 400,000 new people arriving in the country in that period. We need to start measuring GDP on a per capita basis. Let me bring this one. Here we go. Here's showing you GDP growth based on a per capita. And you can see since the GFC, it's been below trend. It's been below trend. So when they're saying GDP's growing, it's all doing great, you got to kind of be a bit skeptical about these things. I guess that's called just evolving into a grumpy old bastard, eh? But according to new forecasts, the bank has moderated its forecast and now expects the economy to grow by just 0.9% by the end of the year. GDP growth will tick up to 1.6% by the end of 24 and 2.3% by the end of 25. I mean, here's the thing. You've got to understand their modeling and their predictions, we can see from this chart, can be completely wrong. I'd argue perhaps it's wrong more often than it's right, but I mean, you're trying to predict, measure, model, and simulate a complex emergent system where we don't even know all the factors. And a big portion of it is just based on psychology. It's funny. It's almost like, quantum mechanics or quantum physics when you measure something. your measurement, the process of measuring affects the outcome. It's when you make economic forecasts or predictions that can affect the public consciousness and will impact those predictions. So it's not economics is not a hard science as much as they pretend it is. They want it to be. I remember when I studied it at university, they were really trying to pretend they were a hard science, but it's not a hard science. It is not at all. It's got more to do with psychology than most people would appreciate, although that is starting to change now in a lot of the economic education and thinking. While a new set of inflation numbers released by the ABS in July came in below traders' expectations at 6%, the Reserve Bank's outlook for inflation has barely changed from 3 months ago. It will still take until mid-25 before inflation reaches the Reserve Bank's target band of 2 to 3%. Rental costs, a primary contributor to broad inflation measures, are forecast to increase further over the period ahead as rental vacancy rates remain extremely low and new housing fails to keep up with booming population growth. Strong population growth is occurring at a time when the rental market is already very tight, and it will take time for supply to respond, the statement said. Rent inflation is expected to continue to pick up over the next year or so and to add materially to inflation over the forecast period. Energy prices are anticipated to worsen the cost of living crunch in the coming year, but rebates and subsidies will help take some of the sting out of the power bill pain. Yeah, but okay, so what? You get $150 from the government to ease your power bill. The fact that everything you consume is manufactured in places that are using that power or transported or stored. Even the products you import from China are still stored in an Australian, mailing room that uses power. All of those costs are going to go up. The impact of increases in electricity prices will be partially offset by government rebates under the Australian government's energy price relief plan and various state government initiatives, the report said. The RBA said Australia's wages bill will pick up to its fastest pace in a decade as workers' pay packets struggle to keep up with the rising cost of living. People with jobs are now also seeking food support assistance more often than in the recent past, and higher interest rates have contributed to an increase in demand for services from people with a mortgage, the bank stated. Yeah, I mean, we've seen that. The food bank gets increased demand in South Australia whenever power bills go out. Gotta love that renewable energy, hey? Isn't it cheaper? Oh, well. Gotta pay for that infrastructure somehow. However, the central bank also cautioned that recent government intervention on minimum and award wages could act as a benchmark across the economy. Well, no, it always does. Under this scenario, inflation would be persistently higher until the end of 2025. Well, we've got Labor in charge of the whole country. A generation needs to learn what the Labor experience. That's what we're getting here, guys. Okay? The unemployment rate is also predicted to rise, with the RBA noting that an additional 140,000 people are expected to be out of a job by June 2025. Despite experiencing 12 rate hikes since May 22, households should brace for further rate hikes after the RBA said Australia could not yet declare victory against runaway price pressures. Some further tightening of monetary policy may be required to ensure that inflation returns to its target in a reasonable time frame, but that will depend upon the data and evolving assessment of risks, the report cautioned. The board remains resolute in its determination to return inflation to target and will do what is necessary to achieve that outcome. Well, let's have a bit of a chat about this one, guys. So what do you think? Do you think this is a bit of a dramatic piece overplaying predictions from the RBA? Or will we have to wait and see? Are you worried? Well, it depends on what sector you're in, what your employment situation is, and what your personal finances are. If you've got a emergency fund with 6 months of resources you can draw upon as needed, would you be that worried about a recession? You lose your job, okay, you take some time, you find another, you create other opportunities. I think that's probably the best. That's the one lesson everyone needs to take from their younger days. Build a reserve. But sometimes you got to learn the hard way. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Thank you for watching. Check out HeiseBim or HeiseDoes if you enjoy my content and want to see some others. If you want to support us, you can on YouTube or Patreon. Use our referral links, buy our pocket squares, or call me if you need an architect. Take care. Have a great day. I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.